Hey guys, welcome back to some more AFK Arena. Today we're back over on the YouTube account and we're going to be breaking down in the entirety Envy. It is a guide that came out a couple hours ago from Rockaday. Want to break this down and show you exactly how and where this hero is being used. Now, when you remember my summoning video a little bit earlier, we did build them out in the entirety. Need a little bit more in the engraving mats, which might not be too vital. You'll also notice that I am in level 999 already, which is kind of crazy. So it looks like let's go ahead, break down this guide, and I want to show you exactly where this hero is being used. All right, so here is that guide from Rockaday. This came over up on Reddit a little while ago. Want to break this down because Envy is a hero that is very unique in what he does, and we're already seeing him in a lot of different places, which is kind of crazy, but we'll go through it. So looking at him right now, he can be obtained through the Temple of Time. You can see we have a luck through summons if you have a summons. Now, he's very unique. Plays a DPS role that buffs himself according to the enemy's buffs and debuffs. Also further debuffs enemies if they already have buffs and if they have debuffs. So it's very specific how this hero works. Now, skills and upgrades, you'll notice there are a few highlights in here. Passive, 5% max health for damage, currently capped at 500% of the own attack rating, meaning with this ability, the higher the attack that you can get for this hero, the more damage is this going to do. Now, big thing to note here is the debuff, the physical resistance and crit block rating when he transforms by 5 points up to 35 points, which means, again, he is going to be doing a lot more damage, and any enemies that are against him are going to be doing a lot more damage. Now, the energy will be set at 400 for 18 seconds once that has elapsed, meaning it can't use his ultimate right away going into this Envy state or the transform state as we see right there. Now, there are a couple key visuals that Rockaday does put in here. The percentage of max health, normal attacks. Now, also remember, this hero has normal attacks and uses normal attacks, which will be interesting when we get a little bit further in here. Second ability is tied to the signature item, records the debuff, which again, debuffs are very important in amplifying the damage that he's doing, creating that mark of corruption for 7 seconds. AoE damage also goes up using normal attacks on a marked target, which is that SI30. Now we're going to get into the build again in just a minute. You also notice there are a few crowd control abilities in here. Also gets an attack speed buff. So thinking of what he's already gained with the physical pierce, now we're throwing on attack speed in here, which again is going to be crazy because it combines with the SP effect, which again is a little bit later on. Also permanently deals 5% more damage per type of debuff stored, meaning a 35% increase to damage when this is maxed, which again is kind of crazy. When combined with this 105% attack from his ultimate, the physical resistance, block resistant debuff will be massive damage. So the Loom of Longing, this again marks the highest base attack enemy. This can be super important in PvP, or if there's only one target at that point. Also gets a 70% damage reduction and mitigation against all the other 4 enemies. So when you think of Lucretia having and really needing to survive and live in battles, seems like this is kind of baked in there. Now, this also does have the furniture, which again, we'll talk about in just a minute. Now, Sinful Feast is the 4th ability that he possesses, one of the most unique abilities in the game. Absolutely love that. So he steals attack rating based on the enemy's current highest attack rating, with the attack boost not being able to exceed 60%. Then when you get into the plus 30 and the plus 60, changes a little bit based on the value that is stolen. Since he always steals a minimum amount, this becomes substantial, especially in single enemy scenarios like boss fights, which is the reason why we're using him in a lot of different places. Then we have his SP effect. It does quite a few things, as you can know right here. Permanently increases normal attack damage against enemies by 10% up to that 70% cap. Also gives attack speed up to that 35 points in total, with 7 different attribute debuffs if they are on the target. On top of that, the SP will convert for all allies points of attack speed into life leech and normal attack damage. So again, boosting it up. Attack speed points will give a 0.8 normal attack damage and a little bit of life leech, capped at 80%, or excuse me, 80 attack speed, in addition to the signature item, which again is kind of crazy. Now, when we start looking at the build of this monster hero specifically, he gets into the signature item. So plus 30 right here, absolutely needed. Increases the range and the damage of the corruption marks. Since it's a permanent debuff, physical resistance, crit block rating. This means your enemy will always have a mark of corruption on them, regardless of your allies. The marks are detonated by him every 2 normal attacks. So if he's on that target, that second normal attack, this is going to be detonated, which of course is going to make a big difference here in a minute. So the marks, it becomes more prominent when transformed because every auto attack will detonate the mark since the normal attack becomes a double hit. So he does again buff himself. Now the plus 40 signature item marks it so he does 100% more damage on detonating onto the marked enemy. Basically a big DPS increase with the explosion, dealing 100% additional damage to the enemy that detonates the mark instead of only dealing that 100%, or excuse me, dealing that AoE damage. Now, therefore, when transformed with a 40, you have a free 100% damage every normal attack. Strong on paper, but needs further testing, so more than likely going to be needed. Now, going from 30 to 40 on our right-hand side, 11.2% crit, 4.37% physical pierce, 26.4% attack, which is crazy because so many of his skills are attack cap skills. Now, furniture needed for PvP, all of it. The plus 3 on here makes it so that he hits the enemy at the beginning of the battle, granting himself invincibility, which of course with survivability is going to work out incredibly well. He gets this as well. 9 of 9 increases the cooldown of skills beside the ultimate of the marked enemy. Again, big PvP use. More functions as a permanent haste debuff of sort that cannot be cleansed. And you'll notice in here what we're also getting out of furniture. So right here, advanced furniture, top, middle 3, and then going to bottom 1, you can see right here, crit, HP, attack, and then defense with physical pierce down there. Pretty strong when it comes to the furniture. Getting into the graving, plus 30 still needs to be tested, but it shows it is needed. Extend the duration of the steel from 8 to 12 seconds, putting the minimum steel value at 20% of the attack rating, which max still remains at 60%. So essentially, you're going to get a longer, stronger attack buff in there. Needs to be tested, but it also steals attack even when there's no enemy attack buff active. If it is, the 30 is mandatory. The 60, of course, when it comes to the engraving, a little bit of a different story. Enemies whom attack that have been stolen by Envy will take extra damage that is equal to 100% of the value that was stolen for the next 10 seconds. Again, if there's nothing to steal, what exactly is this going to do? This is similar to the damage amplification buff, but it's less strong since it adds that fixed value in there. Other damage amplification buffs like Thorin are multiplication or I can't even say the word. Right here, nodes, crit, physical pierce, attack, and attack speed. Definitely the 1, 2, 3 that we're following right here. Collection, which I have a very strong collection already built out on here. Giving him a little bit more attack with my collection. Envy doesn't benefit from the tightest collection. That's because he doesn't CC that often, only with that cone. So you really want to maximize the damage with attack and with that crit damage amplification in there. He has a debuffer, so the buffing is not really necessary. And the physical resistance debuffer is that the physical pierce is not really necessary anyways, because it is capped at a certain point. Now, I love he throws in the synergy. So looking at support hero, she only has 1 debuff, but she is one of the best buffers in the entire game. It is enough with that hero. Very cool to see. Now, looking at some of the interesting ones like Nox right down here, 5 different debuffs with Envy's 3. It is easy to reach that max 7 value, which is what we need. Aethys seems like he's going to be pretty broken. SI buffs normal attacks up to 90%, meaning the damage is going to be amplified huge when it comes to this hero itself. Does everything that Envy needs, debuffs normal attack, and the invincibility, so definitely a buff in there for Silas. Jerome, Palmer, and then several debuffs with our ultimate on top of the insane buffing. We do have a couple carries in here that can work together, again, just based on the needs of this specific hero with the debuffs that we do have going on in here. And then the pets right here, we have the dragon boost normal attack damage and attack, buffs attack speed. Seems like it is going to be pretty broken overall. Obviously, it's very early, which I've made so many comments on YouTube about it being very early. Take the guide with a grain of salt. On paper, he's a bit reminiscent of Lucy, but in a different way. She self-buff allies when she dies. He self-buffs enemies when they're debuffed. So again, a little bit of change in there. Now, should I pull very early confident among one of the better options? Now, might go into the meta. Now, one of the things to remember right now, he notes will most probably not leap Athalia and Awaken Chimera, but expect to be around Thorin. Now, one of the things that we're seeing right now, and this is kind of what I wanted to talk about a little bit, is when we come back and we look at AFK Arena. So when we think of this hero in general, we're seeing the hero in a multitude of locations. So utility-wise, might seem like it's a little bit higher because I even came in here, I did my hellscape today. He is in the formations with the hellscape. Now, we do not see this really change very much, but as you can see, already working into the top, the twisted realm in here. Cursed realm, this is another one when it came to looking at maxing out the damage in here. We seen him on the test server, which is where essentially we seen him very, very early. Here, we're not seeing him as yet, but again, might be a little bit too early to see him because test server, he was being used in all of the iterations. Still super, super new to all of AFK Arena. I want to see where and if he's showing up in the Nightmare Corridor as well, because we do kind of check this on a regular day, and this was the formation for a lot of players that was replacing Vika, and actually both of those, but right here you can see him is in formation number 2, so he is going best in slot in there with Randy. And I believe, again, maybe just might be a little bit too earlier, maybe the iteration of having the Grotesque Mage in here to see exactly if the hero is being used or where the hero is being used. Might just take a little bit of time, and I can't see the last formation if somebody did happen to drop him into that very, very last formation. Most of these are usually blocked, and most players do have the ability to unblock them if they wanted to, but I don't know if we're going to be able to find any to see if he is in there. Now, of course, when you start thinking of the Treasure Scramble, when we look at that side, Treasure Scramble area, he is super, super effective in PvP, which makes me think when we start looking at these formations, he's probably going to go best in slot in PvP. Just have to see exactly where he falls within that cursed realm. So, all right, guys, so that is going to do it for today's video. Let me know in the comments what you guys think of Envy, and as always, thank you guys for watching.